hope you guys appreciate the things that I do for you. I got the idea a while ago to review the 2012 film adaptation of Les Misérables, but before seeing that, I thought I needed some context, so I decided to see the play a bunch of times and really get the feel of the source material. But I decided I needed context for that too, so I read the book, which is without exaggeration one of the longest books ever written. But before I review the movie, I feel that you, like me, need context, so this week I'm going to review the stage musical. Brought to America in 1987, Les Misérables is now celebrated as one of the best musicals of all time. But is it really so good, and is it a good adaptation of the book? Let's not waste any more time and find out. This is the stage musical, Les Misérables. We begin this musical with Look Down, kinda the signature song of the play, reprised multiple times throughout its duration, and we get introduced to our main characters. The musical mostly revolves around an ex-convict named Jean Valjean. Once his prison sentence ends, he gets parole, and he appears to have learned nothing from his 19 years behind bars because when he's taken in by a bishop, he tries to steal his silver. But not only does the bishop forgive him, he makes up a lie to stop Valjean from getting arrested when he's caught. This act of kindness inspires Valjean so much that he breaks his parole and lives an honest life. This act angers an inspector named Javert. You know how in most cop comedies there's this old captain that takes his job way too seriously? Imagine if that wasn't played for laughs and you got Javert. He becomes determined to catch Valjean, so much so that he sings a song about it. A very, very good song called Stars.
And each in your season returns and is always the same.
Is it just me, or does this song sound like Piano Man?
Safe behind bars, I will never rest. Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight.
Well, anyway, let's talk about these two characters. Jean Valjean is really trying to be a good person. Not only does he become the nicest person in France, if not Europe, he is presented with two opportunities to end all of his problems with a bad deed, and refuses both times. On the other hand, we got Javert, who's an interesting villain because he genuinely thinks he's the good guy.
Let's have no more explanation. Save your breath and save your tears. Honest work, just reward. That's the way to please the Lord.
He unfairly judges people, sure, but neither the book nor the play really paints him as evil as much as misguided. There are evil characters in the play, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Fans seem to go crazy for both of these two, Javert especially, and while I can understand it, I'm not really a huge fan of them. They're okay, but not particularly compelling to me. Their story is present throughout the whole story, and any complications will be revealed on a need-to-know basis. But for now, let's talk about its subplots. After the Bishop episode, the play cuts 8 years later, and Jean Valjean is now the mayor of a town. If you think those 8 years are glossed over here, don't worry, it's glossed over in the book too. In one of the town's factories, one of the workers, a woman named Fantine, is fired because of the 19th century equivalent of catty Twitter rumors. This is particularly bad because Fantine has a daughter named Cosette, who's being taken care of by some innkeepers named the Thenardiers, and is supported by Fantine's money. This makes Fantine very sad. So sad, she sings a song about how sad she is, called I Dreamed a Dream.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by, when hope was high and life worth living.
This is one of the better songs in Les Misérables. It paints a very tragic, very precise picture without getting too explainy. So with that, Fantine sells her hair to pay for Cosette, and when that doesn't last, she sells her body, becoming a prostitute. She eventually just snaps at one guy and nearly gets arrested by Javert, but Valjean Mayor sympathizes with her and takes her to the hospital that she needs all of a sudden. Meanwhile, Jean Valjean is told that a man that looks like him is going to be imprisoned as him. Valjean has the option of either letting the guy get arrested, ending all of his problems forever, or exposing himself and risking getting caught again. Valjean, of course, goes with option number 2. He rushes back to the hospital, where he tells the dying Fantine that he will take care of Cosette. She dies of plot convenience syndrome, and Valjean escapes after a little brawl with Javert. Now we get to Cosette, who turns out is not doing very well at the Thenardiers. The situation is very Cinderella, complete with Madame Thenardier being mean to Cosette, Cosette being forced to do all the work, and the Thenardiers' biological daughter Eponine being treated much better. Cosette even gets an I'm Sad song called Castle on a Cloud. It's like a dream is a wish that your heart makes, only, you know, stupid. Now we get to talk about the Thenardiers, who are awesome. The book shows them as awful and reprehensible, the scavengers of society. There was some black humor in their characters, but it was very subtle. In the play, the black humor is all of their characters. This is shown very well in one of the best songs in Les Mis, Master of the House.
Food beyond compare.
Food beyond belief.
Mix it in a mixer and pretend it's beef.
Kidney of a horse.
Liver of a cat. Filling up the sausages with this and that.
It's hard to not sing along with this song. The singers are pieces of scum, but gosh darn, they're just having so much fun. Meanwhile, back to the plot, Valjean comes and literally buys Cosette away. Now here is a point to say something very important about Cosette's personality. She has none. She didn't have much of a character in the book, but in the play, she is the most flat, bland, reactionary character imaginable. She's less of a person and more of a plot device, an object the characters fight over. I mean, seriously, just listen to how they talk about her.
Men like me, don't forget, you're the bastard who borrowed Cosette.
You borrowed my vacuum cleaner and never gave it back. The writers really dropped the ball with Cosette, so keep that in mind as we continue. We cut ahead 9 years, once again, also glanced over in the book, and we discover that Paris is in pretty bad shape. Poverty reigns, and schoolboys plan to revolt. This is where we start yet another subplot with Marius, one of the revolutionaries. He and Cosette bump into each other and fall in love. Seriously, that is exactly how it happens. They meet once, and decide that it is meant to be. They fight for their love, but it all rings a little hollow when you consider that if you round down, they have spent 0% of their lives together. This weak sauce romance subplot is saved by Eponine. Eponine is the best character in Les Misérables, and I will fight you on that. Eponine is a friend of Marius's, saving his skin on multiple occasions. Her storyline is that she's in love with Marius, but since they've been besties for an indeterminate length of time, all hints fly directly over his head. Tell me about it. So Marius chooses the bland Cosette over the more interesting Eponine. Now, of course, since this is a work of fiction, getting upset about this would of course be ridiculous. But seriously, Marius is an idiot. How could he possibly not see that Eponine loves him? Get a clue, dude. Also, what does he see in Cosette? She has no personality. Eponine is developed. She has an identity. But even if Cosette was developed, they literally met for one day. He and Eponine getting together would just make more sense. Well, it's Eponine's credit, she takes it well enough. She doesn't try to sabotage the relationship, she actually helps them get together. All this work, all for the man that she loves, all only for him to push her away. This leads Eponine to sing the greatest song about the friend zone ever written, On My Own. On My Own is my favorite song from Les Misérables, and there is plenty of competition for that. This is one of the most heartbreaking songs I have ever heard, and from a technical level, this is the most difficult song in the play to pull off. It requires a level of both power and control that's hard to find in a soprano. This is an awesome song for an awesome character. We'll talk about how the love triangle subplot ends in a minute. The biggest subplot for the second act is the subplot of the June Rebellion, planned by Marius and his friends. But the day before, Marius gets cold feet after he meets Cosette. Making it worse is that Valjean plans to leave that day when he suspects that Javert has found them again. Not only that, but Javert hears about the revolution and plans to stop it. All this suspense, with the first act ending with one day more.
One day more. Another day, another destiny. This never-ending road to These men who seem to know my crime will surely come a second time one day more.
This is probably the most epic song in the play, the layering of many vocals and a very grand scale. This is another very good song. The second act mostly focuses on the rebellion. Marius and company build a barricade and fighting commences. Eponine sneaks in and literally takes a bullet for Marius. This leads to the very sad scene where Eponine dies. So long, Eponine. You were the best. Meanwhile, Valjean finds out that the man Cosette is secretly in love with is fighting at the barricade, and goes to help. There he sees Javert, who was captured by the rebels earlier. Valjean gets the opportunity to kill Javert, ending all of his problems forever, but to Javert's surprise, he lets him go. Javert runs off, and the revolution commences. At this point, I would like to point out that the original Broadway production, and many reproductions, including this one, have a turntable as a stage. This is a great idea, as it not only allows smooth transitions between scenes, it also allows the audience to see a scene from multiple angles, which is very good as it upgrades the fixed angle of most plays. As predicted, the rebellion is a complete failure, with everybody dying except for Marius and Valjean. Valjean runs off with the injured and unconscious Marius. Meanwhile, there are a lot of meanwhiles, Javert is conflicted. He's shocked and disturbed when the man that he has been hunting for nearly 2 decades turned out to be a pretty good person. This rocks his world and makes him wonder if everything he's ever thought really was a lie. This makes him decide to end it all. So, with Javert dead, we get to the ending of the play, which, as expected, takes forever. So, Marius and Cosette hook up again, Eponine is never mentioned again, and they decide to get married. Before the wedding, Valjean tells Marius his story, something he never even told Cosette. He decides to leave Cosette for reasons that mainly just to create some drama. At the wedding, Marius learns who saved his life at the barricade, something he never found out until then because he was unconscious. He learns that Valjean saved him, and he and Cosette run to find him, and he seems to be dying all of a sudden. The three of them say their goodbyes, and Valjean sees the ghost of Fantine. I know, I forgot about her too. And he dies. In case you haven't noticed, this play is kind of a bummer. So with that, it ends with one last song, Can You Hear the People Sing? And then, it ends. So that was Les Misérables. I thought it was excellent. Sure, it has its flaws here and there, but the songs are great, the characters are great, and the story is great. It is just a great play. And it also is a very good adaptation of a very long, very complex, and also very good book. Do yourself a favor and see it. It's on YouTube and everything. So now that we've looked over the original, join me next week for the review of the 2012 film adaptation. See you 1 week more.